Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again to talk about Coming to America. Not Coming to America, but Coming to America. That's how you're supposed to say it, I guess, because it's a 2 instead of a 2. Believe it or not. Believe it or not, that's not the worst thing about this movie. Oh God, it was torture. It was so miserable. Oh my God. As you can tell, I did not like this movie. In fact, I hated it. Okay, here we go. Now, please just stick with me here because, believe me, I love the original. I saw the original. I've seen it once. I saw it like a few years ago. And I loved it. It was so fun. It was so positive, and it had so much heart to it. And, the acting from Eddie Murphy, James Earl Jones, Arsenio Hall, it's a classic movie. It's a movie that, I don't think that it's one of the funniest comedies, but in terms of being one of the best comedies, I genuinely would put this up there. I would put it in the top 30, maybe top 20. That's how much I like it. And this movie is one of the worst movies that I have ever seen, period. This is one of the worst sequels that I've ever seen. It is so bad. It is worse than The Haunted Mansion. It is worse than Dolomite Is My Name. It is worse than, is there Dr. Dolittle 1? This movie was horrendous with a capital H. And now let's break it down because, I was really expecting to love this movie. I gave it a chance. I put it in my top 10 most anticipated movies of the year list. That's how much I wanted to like this movie. And so don't just think I just don't like this movie because I was never going to like it. Because it's PG-13 and all that crap. But that affects it, honestly. It's PG-13 trash. I don't know why in the hell the first movie is rated R. When you make a sequel to an R-rated movie, you make it rated R. Why is this PG-13? The people who loved the first one grew up. They're adults now. They can watch R-rated movies. There were kids who saw the first one and that was rated R, and they were allowed to watch it even though they're kids, and they loved it, and they're grown up now. There is no benefit to be had from making this PG-13. And the people who liked it, who were adults back then, they're in their 50s now. You can tell how mad I am. I am genuinely pissed off about this stupid, dumb movie. It's so bad. It is so bad. This is the I could say this is probably in the top 5 worst movies that I have ever reviewed for this channel. You got the 2 Books of Blood, you got other ones, and then you got this. Twilight. Oh God. Twilight was worse than this. So were the Books of Blood, but this is up there with how bad it is. Because let's just, okay, I want to get into details. I just don't want to say, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. Fuck that. That's not professional reviewing. But, it rehashes the first one. It basically just, takes the first one and sort of, it's almost like a little kid with scissors. And the first movie is a coloring book, and they just cut out these pictures from the first movie and then they copy and pasted it and made their own little in-between story parts that just suck donkey dick. And shout out to Shrek, that's why I said donkey dick. Shrek, much better movie. Shrek 2, much better movie. Shrek 3, which I hated, much better movie. Shrek 4, much better movie. Was there a Shrek 5? If there was, or if there is, it would be a much better movie. I could guarantee it. Because it just straight up, seriously, it straight up rehashes stuff that happened in the first movie. Why do we get to see characters from the first movie, like Arsenio and Eddie, dressed up in different disguises? Well, because fan service. Great. Wow. So impressive. Wow. That was so worth it to do this. It was almost like a TV special for network TV. It had no depth to it. It had no character development. It had no good story. It was just terrible. I didn't laugh a single time the whole movie. I laughed in misery. I laughed like, oh. This was me the whole movie. Oh, 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 ah. That was me the whole movie. They should come up with a new term, cringedy. Instead of comedy where you laugh the whole movie, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Instead of that, the whole movie you go, ooh, and then it succeeds in making you cringe. That's this movie. It's a cringedy. It's the first of its kind. It's gonna make a lot of money because famous people in it and attached to the first movie, which they even make fun of in this movie. There's this scene where the young guy, Akeem's son, he's just so bland, trash, Killmonger ripoff character. I can't even remember his name in the movie. His last name was Johnson. He has this conversation where he says, all movies are nowadays are superhero movies, remakes, and sequels that nobody asked for. And it's like, dude, are you just talking about movies from the year 2010 and on? Like, I got news for you. Movies existed before the year 2010. Like, I just watched last year Putney Swope. I mean, I discovered so many great original movies last year. Great older, and some newer, like Bone Tomahawk, Brawl and Cell Block 99, Uncut Gems, 1917. I mean, seriously? Like, it's not funny. It's stupid. You're making that joke in a movie where that is the movie. So basically, you're making fun of the movie itself. And, this movie's so bad, you don't want to be doing that because it makes it worse. And let's see, what else can I shit on in this terrible trash movie? Well, okay, let's start off with the good. I already shit all over this movie, but let's talk about the good. What good? Well, this movie was a huge waste of talent. If the actors in this movie were given a good script that actually had jokes in it that were funny, and there wasn't terrible music and stuff like that, it would have been really good. So I guess the actors are all great actors. The young guy playing Eddie Murphy's son, Akeem's son, not so much though. And oh God, there's a lot. Okay, sticking to the good. Near the end, they almost have a wedding in New York, which I thought that's kind of cool. In the first movie, they had this big spectacle wedding at the end in Zamunda. Is that what it's called? I hope that's what it's called, because the first movie was good. And then in this movie, they have like a cheap, small wedding where it's in America. And so it's like, oh, okay, that's cool to have that little contrast there, Instead of making like this stupid, big, colorful spectacle, you can make like this funny, like really hilarious, like small wedding. And you could have it like where there's so much comedy that comes from like throwing together this cheap, trashy wedding, but it's still romantic and it's still really good. Like, that could have been so good. And for a moment, I was convinced that was going to happen, because Eddie Murphy is going to finally accept his son getting married to the woman that he had a conversation with and fell in love with in a conversation. And so maybe they're going to have this, like, hilarious final 20 minutes where they set up this cheap wedding. No, of course not. We got to go back to Wakanda, and we got to, because basically that's what it is in this movie. It's Wakanda. And we'll talk about that stuff pretty soon. And we got to have a big spectacle wedding again, of course, because we got to make this movie look like it cost a lot of money, to make people feel like, oh, this was a big movie. It's a big Hollywood movie, and it's got a lot of production value in it, buddy. And so what else? Oh my God. Good stuff. Okay, well, Lisa, Queen Lisa, I guess is she considered a queen? I hope she is, because she is smoking hot. I mean, she is just as hot as she was in the first movie. The whole movie, I was like, oh my God, she is still hot. And that's the end of the best things of this movie. Now, let's get to the bad things. I have a bunch of notes written down, just writing down notes while I go, this whole movie, I got notes. Okay, I'll be right back. So first off, this movie got woke. It got woke. The whole movie was woke. Shit. What's the stereotype? You know what that guy should have said in the conversation? He should, because it would have said, like, okay, we know this movie is woke trash, but at least they make a joke about it, so it's funny that, like, this movie is a woke piece of shit. But, you know, this whole movie is just full of woke SJW BS. It's what the whole plot is revolved around, aside the stuff that's rehashed from the first one. In fact, they kind of make the first one look bad, and they make all these jokes, and they point out all these flaws about the first one, like how in the first one he tells that girl to bark like a dog, and they make it in this movie where it's like, ew, look at what he did. He made her bark like a dog forever. And so now she's just barking like a dog forever. Oh, what a sexist, horrible person. And then, you know, tons of other stuff like that. I could go on and on with the woke shit in this movie. And that stuff isn't even the worst stuff. The worst stuff is the so-called jokes, because there are attempts at jokes this whole movie. None of them are funny. They're all terrible. They all made me want to puke. I didn't laugh once the whole movie. I did start to laugh when Wesley Snipes came in, you know, with his little Major Payne bargain bin army, because he's got this little army of rebels, I guess you'd say they're called, because they're, I don't know. He's got this little army because he has his own country, which we never knew about from the first one. And anyways, aside that bullshit, his army dances around like they're at the end of Major Payne. It's like you're watching a bunch of kids dance around like they're Major Payne at the military games. You got Wesley Snipes. And it's too bad because, like, Wesley Snipes, he made Dolomite Is My Name good. Like, Dolomite Is My Name, the problem that I had with that movie was that also had some woke crap in it. But the problem was that it wasn't inspiring like it was supposed to be. It was so trying hard at being a comedy that it didn't inspire me, which, and you know, one of the problems with that is that the original Dolomite movie is a piece of shit, and I watched the movie last year. I know how bad it is. It was terrible. It was worse than, well, actually, no. It was better than Coming to America, but it was still really bad. But in this movie, and you know, Wesley Snipes could not even save it. That's how bad it was. He was not really given any jokes at all. He was basically made to be the villain, where there's one point in the movie where he spews out this SJW line where he says, "Your father should have taught you to be polite, not nasty." And, that's just, you know where that comes from, nasty, quote, nasty women, that's a woke thing. But anyways, wow, what a terrible movie. And I got more notes. I just gotta keep looking back at those notes. I mean, there's so many similarities to Black Panther. I mean, this should have been called Black Panther Leaves America and Goes Back to Wakanda. Goes to Wakanda, I mean, whatever. But, I mean, they make the Zamunda look like Wakanda in certain ways. They make the people of Zamunda dress and look like they're in Wakanda. They even give the main young guy, who's the son of Akeem, they give him a Killmonger haircut, and he's basically Killmonger. And, he's going around like, "This is my throne, I can do what I want! I'm the king of Queens! I'm the king from Queens," whatever. He's basically Killmonger. And then you got the young daughters, and they're basically the sisters from Black Panther. And also Lupita, whatever her name was. It started, I can't remember Lupita's name in Black Panther, but they were basically those characters, but even woker. Because this whole movie was basically about how Akeem has a son, and he's supposed to be king, but, this is the 21st century, why can't his daughter be the queen? Why can't his daughter lead Zamunda? And of course, they gotta have a Black Panther-style gladiator fighting scene, where he's fighting with his daughters and they beat him, and it's a big woke festival, and and then at the end, you got these little girls fighting 300-pound, 7-foot-tall men and beating them very badly, and these men are military trained men. It's a laughing stock. It is very, very, very trash. And the music is terrible. The music, there's all this modern, terrible music. I mean, it's basically a musical. I mean, there's so many musical scenes in the film. It's like, what is going on? Terrible music. Terrible, terrible music. The first movie was not known for being the musical movie. But this movie is, for some reason. And then you have the main plot point. And now, excuse me. This is a spoiler. Akeem has a son because his Simi was trying to get laid, and in the same night where he's looking for a perfect wife, Simi gets this one woman, and she has Leslie Jones as a friend. And a movie is bad when it has Leslie Jones in it. And of course, she's in the movie. You know what? She had some of the better jokes in the movie, even though they weren't funny at all. It's too bad because it kind of felt like she was the only one who was really like R-rated. Like, she was the one where it felt like she was allowed to be as loud and obnoxious as she wanted to be, and as uncensored, whereas everyone else, had to be very PG, cleaned up, sanitized. And so, but basically, Leslie Jones rapes Eddie Murphy. And she rapes him all right. She drugs him. She makes it so that he's like, "What's going on?" And she rapes him. What the fuck? I mean, the thing about rape jokes is I take them case by case. I mean, I'll give you an example. I just watched the movie Telling Lies in America, which I would say is really good. I've seen it like 7 times now. I love the movie. And in that movie, it's basically about this kid who just, he's a fuck up. He lies so much. He does whatever he can to impress people. He's very, very screwed up, and he's growing, but he's really just doing things the wrong way. And his friend gives him an aphrodisiac to give to the girl that he likes. and he slips it in her milkshake, and basically thinking that she'll have sex with him, and so it is a rape joke. And then what happens is that it backfires and it makes her puke her brains out, and it's really hilarious. Because he's such a dope. He shouldn't have done it in the first place. He even said why did I do that? He said I don't want to do that. And so it was hilarious though, because it's not technically a date rape drug. It's an aphrodisiac. That's different. But that joke was funny. This joke is not funny because it just feels like it's shoved in there to make him have a son. And it feels like, ugh, like this is the level we're going to in this sequel to that great classic first movie. We're going to this kind of a joke? Like, at least in Telling Lies in America, that was a small movie. Nobody even knows about that movie. It's hilarious. It's a fucking awesome movie. But, yeah, it was terrible. Terrible joke, terrible characters. The new characters are the worst characters in the movie. Go figure. In talking about the kinds of jokes in this movie, here's how bad the jokes are. This movie is so PG-13 and so babyish. It has a fart joke in it. It's not even funny. It's like, what? You're making this for kids? What are you doing? That was really bad. And it wasn't a funny kind of fart joke like in Blazing Saddles. That scene was fucking hilarious. No, but it was a terrible, lazy fart joke that just felt like, ugh, PG-13 trash. And then there's another scene where they rip off Meet the Fockers. And they rip off the joke where they have the foreskin. And it's like, look, here's the foreskin of your father and your grandfather and your great-grandfather and your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers. That sounded funny, but same joke for Meet the Fockers. Same joke. And the one in Meet the Fockers was better. And that was PG-13. Oh my god. This movie's terrible. And now spoilers. This has been spoilers the whole time. But I just had reinforce spoilers. There is a post-credit scene where they literally rip off a joke from Dolomite. They literally rip off a Dolomite joke. That is how bad, insulting, lazy, shitty this movie is. It is so lazy and so insulting to other better movies and to the original that it's a sequel to. And let's talk about how you gotta become Prince. In order to become Prince, you gotta complete a trial. Not the gladiator trial that I don't know why they're doing the gladiator fighting at the beginning of the movie, but he's got to commit animal abuse by cutting the whiskers off of a lion. Yay! Animal abuse. Wow! And it's been done for centuries. Yay! That's just so stupid, and it's just so and you know what I think? I just think it's like trying to make them look bad. Like, oh, look at all these stupid, dumb, evil, sexist traditions that this patriarchy had. Oh no, patriarchy bad, men bad. That's what it was. And then what else? This movie is so bad. It is a really dated movie. I mean, this movie should have come out in the 80s or 70s or something, because they have a dramedy cliché, which is basically near the last part of the movie, they have a scene where there's a misunderstanding, or there's a scene where the main character overhears other characters talk about bad things about the main character. Oh no, I overheard something that was bad, and so I'm gonna leave, and everyone's gonna have a falling out, and there's gonna be a sad period, and then at the end of the movie, there's gonna be a big celebration, and a happy period, forgiveness, and all that. And so we have to have the cliche, stupid ass, oh no, everybody's sad. everybody's not having a good time. You know, I just hate that. I'm so fucking sick of that cliche. I thought that cliche was gone, but apparently it's not. It's gotta be in Coming to America. And, you know, the woke stuff, really bad. But you know what was really bad? The stuff that was just copying the first one. Because you had this relationship, quote unquote, where the main character, he wants to be with a woman with a personality. And so his groomer, she talks to him for a scene. Ha ha ha! They talk, they have a conversation. And that means that they're meant to be. Oh my god! Whereas in the first movie, it took him that whole fucking movie, that 3-hour-long movie, it took him that whole movie to get with Lisa. And, you know, Lisa, way better character and love interest than the woman from the new movie. I can't remember her name because her character sucks so bad. You know, they have a conversation, and she advises him a little bit and helps him study for tests that are unnecessary, sexist patriarchy traditions. That's the plot. And then, probably, though, the most insulting part was the part where his daughters were fighting off these 300-pound men. And, you know, let's just talk about the elephant in the room. John Landis, the bad guy, the devil and Daniel Webster. John Landis, he is a bad guy, and in real life, for what he did on the set of The Twilight Zone, which I will never forget after actually finding out what he did. And oh my god. But the thing is, he should be in prison, but he's not in prison. So you know what? He should be making movies. He should have made this movie, because I guarantee he would have done a much better job than the guy who directed Dolomite Is My Name. The trash, dramedy, typical, cliche, one-dimensional comedy try-hard movie, you know, with SJW elements. I mean, Dolomite Is My Name was okay. It was kind of bad, but it had a lot of comedy in it. It had some SJW stuff in it. This movie has a whole other level of SJW in it, so I really wish that John Landis would have directed it, because it would have been better, honestly. I'll swallow the pill. I will support a John Landis movie as long as it's not The Twilight Zone. But, yeah, that was it's just, I hated this movie. You can tell I hated it. I wrote all these notes. I'm not even that angry now, but I really was angry just watching the whole movie and cringing. And what would I rate this movie in terms of food? That's hard. That's really, really hard. It's got to be something that you cringe while eating it. And I don't really have a lot of foods that I cringe while eating. Maybe like a frozen dinner of some kind. You know, it's got to be some sort of an awful, gross frozen dinner where there's Frankenstein meat that you don't know what that meat actually is. And that's this movie, with a bunch of tiny helpings to sort of represent the wokeness, you know, tiny little carrots, tiny little things. You know, it's just a terrible frozen meal that's just rehashing stuff from the first one that was done, that was homemade food in the first one, but now is frozen garbage with Frankenstein meat. It's too bad. Too bad. This movie is a piece of shit. So yeah, if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, all that crap the YouTubers tell you to do. So goodbye, everybody. See you soon.